Hello, and thank you for coming to the Muck Waters Effect. I'm your host, Matt, and today I'm looking at the Gateway Pundit. But first, I need you to hit like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. Now let's take a look at the article. Secretary of State Blinken says Joe Biden is working to lift sanctions off of Iran, even though Iran funds terror. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says Joe Biden is working to lift sanctions on Iran, even though President Trump withdraw from Obama's disastrous and dangerous Iran nuclear deal, imposing sanctions on Iran and killing their top general, Soleimani. Now the Biden administration, colloquially referred to as Obama's third term, is working on lifting sanctions on Iran. Blinken told ABC's George Stephanopoulos on Sunday that Biden will continue to negotiate with Iran even though they fund Hamas terrorists. There's a video here, so we'll go ahead and watch it.
Your administration is continuing to pursue nuclear negotiations with Iran, but 42 Republican senators have called on the president to end the negotiations, make it clear that sanctions will remain in place because of Iranian funding of Hamas. Do you believe that Iran is funding Hamas? And if they are, should the sanctions stay in place?
You know, George, Iran is engaged in a number of activities, including funding extremist groups, supporting terrorism more broadly, supporting very dangerous proxies that are taking destabilizing actions throughout the Middle East, proliferating weapons. And two things on that. One, an Iran with a nuclear weapon or with the capability to build on in very short order is going to act with even greater impunity in those areas, which just adds to the urgency of trying to put the nuclear problem back in the box that the nuclear agreement put it in. And of course, many of these actions are going forward now, while and have gone forward over the last few years under the so-called maximum pressure being exerted by the previous administration, and clearly did not get the result that we all see, which is to curb all of these activities. But the first thing that we need to do is put the nuclear problem back in the box. That's why we're committed to trying to see if Iran will come back into compliance with the nuclear agreement, the so-called JCPOA. That's what we're engaged in now, and then use that and as a platform to build on and to try to deal with these other issues.
The Iranians say the decision to lift some of the sanctions has already been made. Is that true?
We're about to have our, I think, fifth round of discussions in Vienna with the Iranians. And what these discussions and talks, indirect, as you know, have done is they've clarified what each side needs to do in order to come back into compliance. So we know what sanctions would need to be lifted if they're inconsistent with the nuclear agreement.
All right, guys. The Biden administration doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Okay, when it comes to why Hamas started doing what they're doing, there's two reasons. Number one, Iran started selling them weapons. But where did they get the money to buy the weapons? They got it from the United States whenever the United States started actually giving them aid again. Okay, before that, they weren't doing anything. They didn't test Donald Trump and see how he'd react to things. No one did. It's because he was erratic. They didn't know what he would do. That is not a bad thing. When it comes to Biden, he's predictable. You know what this dumbass is going to do. And their decision to drop some of these sanctions looks weak. You need to keep the sanctions on. I don't care if we get into a nuclear deal with Iran or not. But if we do, we need to make sure it's actually something that helps the United States. Now, I'm fine with dropping sanctions on them as long as they're not selling weapons or funding terrorism. Okay? That needs to stop. And the only way you're going to stop that is by being aggressive, being strong. Biden does not come off that way, and neither does Blinken. They're both weak, and they both are in positions they don't need to be in. Well, guys, that's my opinion. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like and subscribe. Helps the channel grow. Peace.